The most powerful force on earth is a human soul on fire. You have a deep ache in your soul for something more, to come alive, to let your passion pour from you like an endless well. When your passion comes alive, the magnificence buried deep inside of you is unleashed. Gifts and talents you never realized surface as your life unfolds like poetry. You can do hard things. I can show you how. This is Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching, where I teach you how to heal yourself from the inside out. Hey everyone, welcome back to Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching. This is Erin. So today's podcast, and actually the next 12, I'm going to be going over each of the topics that I cover in my coaching course. My idea with this is that I can help the most people possible, and you can get a sampling of exactly what I teach in my course. So I hope that you enjoy these next 12 podcasts because they're really for you. My idea with creating these tools was that, there's only one of me, and these are the tools that I use with myself and with my clients. So if I can record it, if I can get it on video, if I can find a way to share it with people, then they can use these tools to find greater peace in their lives, solve deep mysteries within themselves, and connect to themselves and their community. So I hope that you enjoy, and let me know if you have any feedback. You can email me, Erin at erincoach.com, and enjoy. Welcome back to Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching. This is Erin. So I have had a crazy stressful week. Oh my God. So I think, pardon me, last podcast I was dealing with some heavy metals poisoning, and it was really intense. I have a lot of compassion for people who have panic attacks because I've dealt with a lot of things in my life, but I think, as I said on the last podcast, I've never had a panic attack except for when I was I think I was graduated from college and I was going to work at an Olive Garden, and the night before, some friends gave me a pot brownie, which, I totally knew it was in it. I didn't know the power of it. And anyways, I went up with my head in the refrigerator to calm me down. I threw up all night. It was awful. But I didn't have a pot brownie this time. I got a tattoo, which I love my tattoo. Tattoos are awesome. I would get another one, but I know the risks now. And it's not that I didn't know the risks before. I just didn't think about it. I know all this. I'm have an arsenal of natural medicine knowledge inside of my head. I have an apothecary at home. Tim's formulas have replaced a lot, but I still have certain supplements I go to and I keep in the cabinet, like iodine or charcoal or carnitine or psyllium husk. And, there's a bunch of other things that I use for different things in my life. But the heavy metals kind of came out of nowhere. But I think it was also compounded with stress of selling my mom's house, which, that's, my eldest brother, he is, he's addicted to different things, meth and ecstasy and all types of different things. But he fought me every single step of the way. And my real estate agent, Adam Mazer, is a freaking angel. I call him the bearded angel because he has gone above and beyond his call of duty. He's a real estate agent. He's selling the house. He does up the contracts. He has some, back and forth with clients, but he has literally been the glue keeping our family together. So thank you, Adam. If you ever listen to my podcast, by the way, you and your girlfriend have a free retreat at my studio whenever you want, because what you've done, I think you stood up for my family more than anyone else in my life. So thank you. It's been really stressful. We actually closed today, fingers crossed. If you're listening to this on Friday, hopefully all is well, all went well. So yeah, there's been a lot that I've had to deal with. And, the yogic tools that I have certainly helped. I've been reaching out more to friends. I've also been doing 75 hard again, which is, some people are like, Erin, you're crazy. How can you even, with all this going on and then you're doing this challenge? Well, honestly, it's directing my energy. Just like skate park skating is directing my energy. I have like a lot of Rajasic energy within me, very like excitey, move energy. And that's, I'm kind of a Rajasic person as it goes. But I've been able to funnel it into skate park skating, lifting weights, doing these challenges to where I feel like I have some, there's so many things in my life right now that are variables, and that I cannot control, like my brother's behavior, for example. It's just, it's irrational, and it's, we went through this when I was younger, but here I am having a new perspective as an adult. And I understand why my mom decided to, kind of like cut him out of our lives, because he has a distorted sense of reality, and he'll do whatever he needs to do, manipulate and throw tantrums to make that reality come true. And I'm going to say this for the people in the back. If you have someone in your life, even family, that is abusive to you, you have the right to remove yourself from their life. And that's kind of an odd way to say it, but just like with boundaries, you have the right to remove yourself from a situation. You have the right to remove yourself from the abuser's life. And so that is, that's what I plan to do after all this is said and done. It's been a rough ride. So I like to be authentic and give you like real deal check-ins. So, I wanted to share one last thing before we get into How to Coach Yourself series, the relationship manual. But I did have a really big panic attack that was like the mother of all of them. And then I felt so much better. And during that panic attack, I sweat like sticky sweat. I was shaking, like sweat was just profusely dripping from me. My heart was like beating out of my chest. It was very, very intense pain, and I could barely breathe, but I tried, and Matt coached me. My partner is amazing. By the way, guys, he is now a certified coach, and I trust him to coach me. He is amazing. It's not just because he's my boo, because if he wasn't very good at coaching, I probably wouldn't have him coach me, because I am picky, because I lead certifications. My method's really great. Other people's methods are really great, but mine is also really great. And yeah, his is different than mine, but it gets in there. So if you are looking for a coach, his prices are a little bit less expensive than mine. I think $125. I usually charge like $175 per session. By the way, if you like want to connect with him, I will totally connect you with him, because he's awesome. But anyways, I had this one big final panic attack, and the rest of the day I was kind of like, I don't know, feeling like a new baby chick that had hatched, like vulnerable and a little bit on edge. And then the next day I felt really good. And ever since then I felt really good. So let's move on. The relationship manual. The idea of the relationship manual is that we have these totally unspoken and untalked about manuals that we carry for everyone. And this affects our relationships. So, for example, I'll use my eldest brother. I have a manual for him that he will respect me, that he will respect the process that we're going through with my family, that he won't, curse at me, that he won't, go back on his word. Let's see, what other manuals do I have for him? That he won't last minute throw a tantrum, though I think I've modified that manual. So, but, just kind of act like not a model citizen, but like, act like a decent human being. And the thing is, when people are under the influence of drugs or alcohol or, sometimes other aspects of their life, like some sort of trauma, and we expect them to act in a certain way, then we end up in heartache. Now, you might be like, okay, well, if we don't expect people to act a certain way, then what are we going to do? Just let them walk all over us? No. That's where boundaries come in to give a choice, right? So the thing is, we have certain expectations, yes, and that's normal, having certain expectations that people are going to conduct themselves in a certain way. Laws in our country, regulate that as well. And if you don't follow the law, right, you break the law, then you go to jail or you get a fine, right, if somebody catches you. So that is reasonable. But when we have these deeply ingrained, why doesn't he just be normal? And it really bugs us and it really just gets under our skin. That's where the manual comes in, looking at our expectations of another person and how much it affects us. Right? So that's kind of the purpose of this. And not everybody has my eldest brother in their life, hopefully not. But you might have somebody similar to him in your life. And if you do, this podcast and these tools are probably going to really help you with that. So a manual is a behavioral instruction guide we subconsciously assign to someone in our life. We generally don't realize we're carrying these manuals around or understand the conflict and pain that they cause. We assume, and this is an important part, that others should just know what to do and how to treat us. While these expectations may seem justified, it can be very damaging to your emotional happiness when your emotional happiness is directly tied to another person's behavior. So let me share a little bit lighter example. Actually, I have two of them. So, one is I had this manual for Matt that when I was away on a big trip and I came back, that he would greet me at the airport, arms open with flowers. And I didn't realize I even had that manual until he picked me up from the airport. I think it was after my silent retreat, empty-handed. And even though he had a smile and open arms, the part of me that was really attached to this manual was like, what the fuck? Where are my flowers? I am a queen. Where are my flowers? And, so it really affected, I was happy to see him, but we're very connected. So he's like, what's wrong? What's going on? And I couldn't quite figure it out until I think halfway through the car ride. And then I told him that. And, we had a little bit of I don't want to say an argument because he was very open to that, but I had to communicate it. And once I was able to really communicate what that meant to me and why I wanted that, then the next time he picked me up, he had flowers. So here's the thing. If I didn't talk about it, then it would be completely unknown. And we would continue on this cycle of, he picks me up. I haven't seen him in a few days or weeks. And then I'm grumpy and it would affect our ability to connect. And if I still didn't mention it, it would just be like this the whole time, right? So that every time he would pick me up, he's going to expect, Erin's going to be grumpy. Do you see what I mean? So this is an example too. An easy one is we expect that the male figure is going to take out the garbage, right? So this is a gender roles sort of maybe cultural assumption that we would have about the man in our life. Like the man takes out the garbage, the woman does the dishes, things like that. So knowing what your manual is and addressing it with your partner or your friends is really important. Let me give another example. So this was years back when my niece was still a little girl. Let's see, she's 13. She's still a little girl. She's 13. But I think she was like 8 or 9. And we had a gong meditation at my studio. And I was, it was like fun weekend with her auntie. And so I thought, in my innocence that an 8-year-old, of course, is going to love a gong meditation. I mean, come on, where else would I rather be? An 8-year-old for sure is going to lie still for 90 minutes. And so anyways, I invited everybody in and I was like kind of hosting the event, and she was laying right next to me. And about, 15 minutes in, she started like tossing and turning, and I was at a point in my life where I really needed that gong meditation, and she was just tossing and turning and, like kind of making sounds. And I remember laying there and being so frustrated and annoyed. I was like, kid, why don't you like what you're doing this on purpose? All these thoughts went through my head. And then about halfway through the gong meditation, I realized, Erin, she is 8 years old. This is what an 8-year-old does. Why would you expect anything different? It's like boom, like wisdom hit me. Maybe it was the vibration that kind of like cleared out my ego a little bit. And like, just let her do her, like let her be an 8-year-old, because that is what an 8-year-old does. And just release expectations and your manual where you expect for her to lie completely still, and be a model citizen. I love that line, by the way. That's from Lilo and Stitch, model citizen. And once I did that, yeah, she was still moving around, but it didn't bother me nearly as much. It was just like very, very slightly on the Richter scale of my emotional frustration. So knowing what your manual is for others, and maybe even knowing what their manual is for you, can be a game changer. Because again, if we have these manuals for other people and they don't fulfill our unspoken about, untalked about request, we get pissy or we feel aversion to them. Recently, Matt and I have been exploring this concept of attachment styles, which is something I'm probably going to work into my course, because it's, my course is an ever evolving, like breathing, pulsating entity, I'm going to say. So just like my trainings, it's like a living, breathing thing. Depending on what I learn, my evolution, I reflect that in my course. So that's very exciting for anyone who takes my course, because I'll probably do a master course at some point, because I'm always learning. Anyways, attachment styles are deeply ingrained styles of attachment that we have with our parents or our loved ones or our caretakers. And more specifically, it's usually parents or caretakers. And there's 3 main different styles of attachment, and I'm still learning this. So pardon me if it's not super in depth, but I think I can fill in the basics. So one attachment style is anxious, an anxious attachment style. So when when they don't get the love that they want and the attention and affection, they become super clingy and super insecure, right? You might be like, oh, I feel called out. Or you might be like, oh yeah, my partner's like that. So those are the people that need reassurance, and it's like ingrained in there. It's not like they're, doing it on purpose necessarily. It's a subconscious programming. And so we can improve this attachment style, like we can get a little bit better, but the thing is, it's like, it's in there. And when Matt and I were finding out about this, it really gives a lot of compassion for your, like, if you have, I'll go to the next one, aversion style. So there is the anxious, and there's like the kind of withdrawn, like averting style. And when it's not avert, there's another word for it. But when you are kind of withdrawn, you pull away from your partner, like when there's too much affection, like, oh, there's too much love, like they're going to leave me, or this is too much. And like these types of people are afraid of commitment. If somebody gets a little bit too anxious attachment, then they're going to go and flip on the other side, right? So these are different styles of attachment. And then there's like the anxious avoidant, I think it's avoidant, not averting, avoidant style. And knowing this about yourself and your partner can certainly help you adjust your manual. Because everybody has it. You're going to have expectations of your partner. It happens. But knowing about it and having discussion about it can really help you guys to navigate it. So, in the course and what I teach, yes, we are responsible for our own feelings. We are responsible for our life, for our thoughts, and we want to have as much control of that as possible so that we show up in the world in a big way. But if you're in a relationship, a friendship, if you just say, oh, well, according to my clear formula, your thoughts created those emotions, so I didn't make you feel anything, and you're going to have to sort that out. I tell the people in my course, do not say that to your partner. Do not. Now, you guys can work together, but if you say that, you're going to sound like a sociopath, and your partner's probably going to want to break up with you. So, just FYI. But these tools are so good to help you discover what's kicking underneath the hood. So here's a little activity that I include in my course. List 20 uncomfortable truths or requests you'd like to communicate to loved ones. And then why do you want them to know these truths or requests? Write down your reasons. Once you have listed 20 requests, along with your rationale, ask yourself how you can communicate these requests from a space of kindness and love. Then plan a time with those loved ones around to discuss requests. So this is about needs. So once you know what your manual needs are, I would do that first to actually write down, what is your manual for your other person? What are the things that you just expect them to know about you or behavior that they conduct themselves with? What are those? Okay. Know that. And it would be a good idea to set aside time with your partner to discuss these. And then the second part is needs, sort of needs or requests that you would have in your relationship. When you write these down, sometimes they're a little bit unreasonable. I expect that you're going to be happy and carefree and calm every time I come home from work at 5:30. Now, once you write, if you realize you have that manual and then you write down your request, if you look at it, you kind of be is that really reasonable to expect someone to feel a specific way all the time? Probably not. But at least you know now, why am I so irritated with my husband? Why does my wife drive me up a wall? If you had underneath the surface been expecting for them to be happy-go-lucky and to be super cheerful all the time, that is unreasonable, folks. It really is. Now, if you have a request that they will listen to you when you're feeling down, when you guys have blocked out some time for that, or that they will listen to your feelings and that you will listen to theirs, and you guys will not throw negative comments at each other all the time, that might be more reasonable, right? Do you see what I mean? If you have a quote unquote need for someone to be happy and balanced all the time, I'm going to tell you right now, that's unreasonable. That's not fair. Imagine if somebody said that to you. So to reiterate, if you have these expectations that somebody should feel a certain way all the time, check yourself, because that's not reasonable. That's not fair. And yeah, that is a manual that is really going to lead to misery in your life. So rather, maybe talk about a need about talking about your feelings, maybe about doing some inner work. Matt and I have a need for us to continually grow together and do inner work, but we know that about each other. You see what I mean? So the manual, if it's unspoken about and untalked about, can really be toxic to your relationships. But if you talk about it, now you might not always get what you want, but if you talk about it, this is deep, intimate truths that mean so much to you, it can really bring you closer. So many people, I coach so many couples. I coach, not couples, I'm not a couples coach, but I coach one side of the couple. And there's so much that's not said, that's not talked about, In a relationship, if you want to continue growing together and feel connected, these things need to be sorted out, at least in my experience. So hopefully this series is helpful for you. I have gotten a lot of great feedback about it. And if you want to get some feedback, you can email me, Erin@erincoach.com. If you want to subscribe to my newsletter, we've actually been pretty regular with it because I have the help. We're sending one out pretty much every Friday. If you go to thrivewitherin.com, there's a way to subscribe to my newsletter. And I want to announce one last thing, that I am going to be doing live coachings again. I'm going to do them once a month. So if you are interested in that, go to thrivewitherin.com and subscribe. If we see you on the subscription, you can email me and get a free coaching with me. It is pretty life-changing. And if you're curious about I like you and maybe I would let you coach me, listen to some of my other live coachings. I have them on a podcast, and that's kind of the swap there is, you allow us to, and again, it can be anonymous, but release it as a podcast because it helps so many people. Because every time in my trainings and my certifications, when I coach one person, when other people are listening in, they see themselves reflected in that person, and it's almost like they're being coached. It's a very powerful process. It's a wonderful way to give back to your community, to give back to the world in a time where there's so many lonely people that are confused, that are isolated, that need peace and need to know that they're not alone. And this helps them. And so I'm happy to give and share my gift. And so if you're interested, again, email me, Erin@erincoach.com. And I think that's all I have for you today. I hope you have a fantastic week, and I'll talk to you next week. Namaste. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to support the podcast and if it's helping you, please consider writing a review. You can go to iTunes or Google Play, go into the search bar and type in Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching, scroll down, and you can leave a review. This helps other people to find me as well as bumps us up in the search ratings. Also, this podcast is sponsor-free, so that means we don't receive anything for doing it. If you feel so inclined and this podcast is helping to support you and you want to return the favor and help to support any production costs of the podcast, feel free to give a donation to a Venmo link, Thrive Yoga Fit, or PayPal, Erin@erincoach.com. If you don't have the means, don't worry about it. We're not going anywhere. You're all good. But if you would like to give back, you can give back in those ways. Last thing, we have a coaching certification coming up, and it's 7 days of an intensive work, followed by a 3-month mentorship. You will not find another teacher that's more passionate and dedicated than I am to my students and their learning. And not just their learning, but the application and how they show up in their life. If you've been listening to this podcast and it's had a huge impact on your life, just imagine what it would be like to spend 7 intensive days with me and then a 3-month mentorship. You can check that out at thriveyogafit.com/coach-certification. Again, thriveyogafit.com/coach-certification. Thank you so much. Namaste.